Greetings everyone and welcome to my little garden. Time Stranger is the latest entry of the Digimon Story video game series, and at the time of writing, is also one of the hottest trending video games of right now. Its predecessors, Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, as well as their complete edition, have since become cult hits, and after much anticipation and a surprisingly earnest marketing campaign, Time Stranger is being met with generally warm reception. And now, I am here to talk about it. For some transparency, I pre-ordered the Ultimate Edition of the game, so I had access to a bunch of goodies that some buyers might not have. At least not immediately. I also bought some extra DLC that is not included in the Ultimate Edition and had to be purchased separately. I also played the demo of the game, in which the progress I made there was transferred over. I made one of my rookies particularly powerful during my time with the demo, and that definitely laid the foundation of the experience. This review is also based on my first playthrough of the game, which apparently took me 95 hours to complete. I didn't even notice how it got there, but here we are. So, with all that out of the way, we now ask, was this game any good? Considering I intimately spend 100 hours with it, that'd be a solid yes. Straight up, this is the best looking Digimon game thus far. The graphics are crisp, and the frame rate was consistently at a smooth 60 FPS for me the entire time. If you've played the Cyber Sleuth games, the art style is very familiar and retains that largely anime aesthetic, but blessed with that newest gen glow-up. A lot of care was put into how the game looks, especially when you consider the fact that every Digimon are uniquely animated. Seriously, the game just oozes with visual charm. Your Digimon follow you around the overworld, and you get to see that every Digimon have their very own movement animation, from bouncing to running to gliding, and it gets even better. Every Digimon have a unique cinematic animation that plays when they use their signature skills, and the roster is huge. Now, that being said, during the more dialogue-heavy cutscenes, the characters tend to be rather stiff. I suppose the animation budget had to go somewhere, and I'm glad where that focus ended up being on. During such cutscenes, the game is instead carried by the great voice acting performances. This leads me to the next talking point, which is this game sounds pretty freaking great. Now, I did just mention the voice acting performances. The last Digimon game that had an English voice cast was Digimon World Next Order when that was released outside of Japan in 2017. Digimon games that came after that had no English voice acting, despite being released internationally. So you can imagine that Time Stranger having such a stellar English voice cast was nothing short of a dream come true for many of the fans. The performances have the quality you might expect from a modern anime dub. That is to say, the performances are great, though fans will surely have varying levels of reception to these performances. Gamers also have the option to set the voices in Japanese, so that's sure to please the purists, and it's just nice to have options. And as far as sounds go, Time Stranger blesses us with a wonderful soundtrack. Fans who played Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory tend to agree that the music is an underrated gem in the video game world. Takada Masafumi returns as the composer for Time Stranger, and once again delivers an excellent OST. Bless this man, he deserves the world. Seriously, during the early parts of the game, I hesitated to step out of my room because the song that plays in there is one of my favorites. So yeah, this game has an incredible soundtrack by default. That said, if you bought the Ultimate Edition of the game or are willing to buy some DLC, you have the option to change the music settings into the Cyber Sleuth BGM pack. Another more expensive DLC is the Anime Music Pack, featuring over a dozen songs from the anime seasons. These are fantastic options should you decide to spend some extra money, further customizing your personal experience with the game. The only issue I have with the sound of the game game is that sometimes the spoken dialogue is overpowered by the BGM while playing in the default settings. I play this game on PC and with my headphones on, by the way. My friend, who plays the game on PS5 and listens through his TV, says he has no such issue regarding the balance between the voiceover and the music. So I don't know if this is necessarily a universal issue players might have. So, I talked about how the game looks and how it sounds, but what about how it plays? Well, I'm happy to report that Time Stranger's take on the turn-based genre is pretty great. Time Stranger inherits most of the same mechanics seen in Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's memory, and improves upon it. Digivolution is a key part of Digimon's identity as a franchise, and those familiar with it know that raising Digimon is very much a non-linear experience. Digivolving into bigger, stronger Digimon is appealing, yes, but the game also makes it clear that de-digivolving back down to earlier forms is just as important. That's right, players are encouraged to experiment with the Digivolution tree, freely going up and down the branches to discover Digimon they may otherwise not find in the overworld. Speaking of which, unlike certain other monster collectors, you don't catch Digimon that you encounter. Rather, Digimon you face in battle have their data scanned. Once you hit 100% scan rate or more, you can convert that data to create Digimon. And, speaking of which, Time Stranger does away with random encounters, something that Cyber Sleuth used to have. Indeed, you can see exactly where hostile Digimon are on the map, and you are free to engage them in battle or avoid them entirely. The actual battle system is very satisfying. The classic dynamic of vaccine, virus, and data returns. On top of that are elemental weaknesses and resistances that further modify damage output. On top of that is a less obvious part of the formula where certain Digimon with certain signature skills can do more damage to certain specific Digimon with very specific traits. Is this confusing to you? Don't worry about it. All I'm saying is that the battle mechanics have a lot of depth to it, and it's especially rewarding to players who pay attention to these nuances. But it's also okay to not want to pay attention at times. This is a JRPG, so grinding is a thing that's inevitable. Fortunately, grinding is made very easy to tolerate. If your Digimon is strong enough, they can just straight up win by hitting enemies in the overworld with your Digi-attack, instantly rewarding you with the spoils without ever triggering the combat encounter. And even if you do still end up in combat, you have the option to significantly speed up the animations and even go auto-battle, where the game's AI takes over and attempts to use skills that will end the fight as quickly as possible. The AI for auto battle isn't perfect, but it is reliable and highly recommended for grinding purposes. Aside from Digivolution and combat, the game attempts to smoothen the player's experience wherever it can. The map features an objective marker telling you where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to be doing, so you're never going to get lost. To those of us who played Cyber Sleuth, this is an extremely welcome improvement. They also make transportation super convenient too. Whether it's by taxi or by Birdramon, this game constantly presents you with fast travel opportunities, so you get to where you need to be as efficiently as possible. And speaking of getting anywhere, one of the most charming things about this game is the Digiride. Certain Digimon can be mounted on, and being able to ride your Digimon is not only cool and stylish, it's also very practical. And this is such a highly requested feature that fans have been wanting, so it's awesome to finally have this as a regular part of the game. Fast travel, auto battles, and even skippable cutscenes, finally, Time Stranger is fundamentally a major improvement to its predecessors. There are many other gameplay features that I could mention, such as the card battle minigames, the Digifarm, the in-between theater, etc., but just know that there's always something to do, and the game does a great job explaining to you how these features work. Overall, the core gameplay loop is extremely satisfying and absolutely addicting. I said that I finished the game after around 95 hours. A huge chunk of that time was just purely grinding. I did make it a mission to complete the field guide before the end of the game, and I wouldn't have done that if the grind was awful. A lot of reviews are saying that this game takes about 30 to 40 hours to complete. I'm pretty sure that's a really lowball estimate. This is a common statement from review videos and articles that rush through the game as quickly as possible so their content can be published on the same day that the game comes out. The reason why I'm only getting this video out now is because I did actually take my time to intimately get to know this game. If I was to subtract all the grinding, I'd say that the actual time it takes to beating your first playthrough is closer to around 60 hours. This is a long game, with a lot more to take in than what the day one reviewers would suggest. This leads us to talking about the story itself. Now, I won't be spoiling anything, so no worries there. The word story is literally in the game's title, and for many buyers, it's arguably what makes or breaks the deal for them. While the Digimon roster is the real selling point, the story itself is what drives this game. And of course, this is perhaps the most subjective talking point about the game. So, is the story good? Yes. Are the characters good? Also yes. But how well these are received varies from player to player. Digimon as a franchise is very anime-inspired, and Time Stranger is no exception. Its story is an epic saga that's littered with typical anime tropes, and this might work really well for many, but perhaps not for some. For me personally, I enjoyed the plot and the characters very much. The game definitely triggered some strong emotional reactions from me. It's ultimately a drama with a powerful fantastical element embedded into it. Despite its origin as a kid-friendly franchise, Digimon actually dares to grow up with its audience. Time Stranger definitely earns its teen rating as the game incorporates some heavy themes. The approach to the more serious topics is very well handled in my opinion, and provides more impactful moments to behold. I think it's safe to say that the story part of the game's title is appropriately one of its major strengths. Digimon typically delivers when it comes to fun and engaging storytelling, and most fans of Digimon aren't disappointed, as reflected by the game's generally glowing reviews. It's not like it's perfect though. Earlier I mentioned that I bought some DLC. Paying extra money for BGM packs as well as other aesthetics do not really bother me. What is a bit jarring to me is the DLC pack for the Outer Dungeons. These dungeons are extremely easy resources for EXP, money, and materials, and makes grinding even easier for paying customers. It is understandable that this is controversial among fans, and is definitely something to be wary about for future Digimon games. And yes, I am a hypocrite for being part of the problem by purchasing this DLC. But this is also a good opportunity to draw attention to this practice, as it deserves to be thoughtfully criticized. Still, most Digimon fans love what Time Stranger has to offer, with many content creators calling it
the best Digimon game ever.
And you know what? I can almost agree with that. And for what it's trying to be, Time Stranger overwhelmingly succeeds. But I think it's time for me to express my disappointment for what it isn't, or rather, what it's missing. Longtime followers of my channel know that I have been putting a spotlight on the competitive PvP mode of Cyber Sleuth, a game mode that is glaringly missing from Time Stranger. I'm not going to mince words here. Time Stranger's lack of a competitive PvP mode is the biggest missed opportunity of the franchise as a whole. So, when I found out from a social media post that Time Stranger won't have any online gaming, it was very devastating. Time Stranger's initial reveal sparked major excitement for the community, and for some of us, this was a sign that Digimon's potential as a competitive game could evolve. Well, digivolve into something greater. Many players of Cybersleuth and Hacker's memory were ignorant to the PvP aspect, but those that really got into it found that Digimon actually had a robust competitive environment, no matter how small it was. Time Stranger had the potential to bring forth a new competitive phenomenon with the exposure and recognition it desperately needed. But it didn't, and it hurts to not see it. To be fair, with the way this game is designed, it's apparent that the balance was focused on the single-player experience, and that's true. The way the mechanics work would not at all translate well as a competitive turn-based game. To me, that felt like the devs didn't have any faith in its competitive potential, which really breaks my heart. Time Stranger has reached unprecedented heights for the franchise, that much is certain, but it could have reached a little higher. And yet, despite my despair for a feature that simply isn't there, what we are left with is still an incredible game that promises an incredible experience. While I am entitled to be sad about the lack of PvP, there's no denying that Time Stranger stands as not only one of the best ever Digimon games, but simply as an amazing RPG in its own right. In fact, I dare say that Time Stranger compares favorably amongst its peers, such as Atlus' flagship series, Persona, and Shin Megami Tensei. And you know what? Persona never needed a PvP component to become a respected series. Time Stranger is part of Digimon's ongoing resurgence that the world is observing with much excitement right now. The game is here, both for everything that it is and what it isn't. I can only hope that Time Stranger's success leads to a future of grander possibilities for Digimon video games. I have sung the game's praises and expressed my despair. I want to thank the viewers who made it all the way to this point here. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. Thank you so much for watching and train hard, Tamers.